I had a long, stressful day at work and needed a break. So I grabbed my fishing rod and walked down to the lake behind my house. The weather was perfect, the water was calm, and I felt like I could finally relax. I cast my line and closed my eyes, just enjoying the moment. But then I heard a loud voice shouting my name. I turned around and saw Karen, the HOA president, marching toward me like she owned the place. She was holding a clipboard and looked angry. She handed me a $500 fine and said I wasn't allowed to fish in the lake. I was shocked. I had no idea I was breaking any rule, but her smile told me this wasn't about rules. This was personal. That's when I knew I wouldn't just pay the fine. I was going to do something she'd never forget. Let me start from the beginning. I moved into this neighborhood a few months ago. It looked peaceful with clean streets, big trees, and a quiet lake right behind my backyard. At first I thought it was perfect, but then I met Karen, the HOA president. She acted like the queen of the entire neighborhood. She would walk around with a clipboard, checking people's lawns and mailboxes. I stayed quiet and followed all the rules. I didn't want any trouble, but fishing, that's something I've done since I was a kid. It helps me relax and clear my mind. So when she fined me for simply fishing in the lake, I couldn't believe it. I asked her to show me the rule, and she just smiled and said, "Take it up with the board." That's when I realized this wasn't just about a rule. She wanted control, and I wasn't going to let her win. After Karen gave me that $500 fine, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Something felt off. Why would fishing in a neighborhood lake cost me that much? I had seen kids fish there. Even old Mr. Jenkins used to bring a chair and sit there for hours. So why was I being fined? I decided to look into it. I started asking my neighbors if they had ever heard of this fishing rule. Most of them looked confused. A few even told me they had been warned by Karen for using the lake too. That's when I knew this wasn't just me. Karen was targeting people with fake rules, and no one had questioned her. But I wasn't like the others. I don't like being pushed around. I searched the HOA website, checked documents, and even visited the county office. That's where I found something strange. The lake didn't belong to the HOA. It was actually private land listed under a separate name. And the best part, the land was for sale. I couldn't believe it. Karen had no real control over the lake. She had been lying and pretending it was HOA property just to scare people. That $500 fine was fake, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I contacted a local real estate attorney and explained the situation. I asked him to check if the lake was really up for sale and if I could legally buy it. He called me back 2 days later and said, "Yes, it's available and it's just been relisted after a failed deal." I felt a fire light up inside me. Karen had embarrassed me, fined me, and tried to control me. Now I had a chance to turn the tables. I didn't tell anyone, not even my closest neighbors. I quietly met the landowner, signed the paperwork, and started the buying process. I kept things quiet while Karen kept sending me warning letters, threatening more fines. I smiled every time I got one. She had no idea what was coming. I wasn't just planning to fish again. I was planning to own the entire lake. And when I did, Karen and her clipboard were going to be in for the biggest shock of their lives. A few weeks later, everything was finalized. The paperwork was signed, the payment was done, and just like that, I owned the lake. Every inch of it, the water, the shoreline, even the walking path Karen used to patrol with her morning coffee. It was all mine now. I stood there the first morning after the deal closed, holding the official documents in my hand, looking out over the calm water. It felt like victory, but I wasn't done yet. I had one more move to make. I ordered large metal signs that read, "Private property, no trespassing, access restricted." I put them all around the lake. I even installed a couple of security cameras just in case Karen tried something crazy. Within 24 hours, the entire neighborhood was buzzing. People were texting me. Others were talking loudly on their porches. Some were shown down the street in front of my drive. Nobody was louder than sitting outside, calm as ever, sipping coffee. She looked furious. "You can't block the lake," she snapped. "That's community property." I smiled and handed her a copy of the property deed. "Not anymore," I said. She stared at it like it was fake. "This is a joke, right?" "No joke," I said. "You fined me for using a lake that wasn't even yours. So now it's mine, and you're not allowed anywhere near it." She looked like her world had just collapsed. I walked back to my porch, sat down, and watched her stomp off like a child who didn't get her way. From that day forward, everything changed. The same people who once listened to Karen's rules now started asking me for permission to go near the lake. I didn't say yes to everyone, but I did allow a few nice families, especially the ones Karen had treated badly before. Karen, she was completely banned. She had to walk around the block just to avoid seeing the lake she once acted like she owned. I didn't say a word to her after that. I didn't need to. The signs, the locked gate, the peaceful sound of water in the morning, it said everything. I thought Karen would back off after I bought the lake, but I was wrong. She didn't just get mad. She lost her mind. A few days after I blocked access, I received a letter from the HOA. It claimed that I had to remove the signs, take down the cameras, and return the lake to the community. It even threatened me with legal action. I laughed. I called my lawyer, sent him the letter, and he couldn't stop chuckling either. They have no authority over that lake, he said. Let them try. It'll be fun. Still, the HOA tried everything. Karen held emergency meetings, passed out flyers, even went door to door collecting signatures for a petition to take back the lake. But people weren't listening to her anymore. They knew the truth now. They had seen the documents. And honestly, many of them were tired of her power trips. One of my neighbors, an older guy named Tom, knocked on my door one evening. "Son," he said, "that was the boldest move I've ever seen. You stood up to her in a way none of us ever could." More and more neighbors started siding with me. They began speaking up during HOA meetings, questioning Karen's decisions and asking where all the money was going. Turns out she had been charging people for fake violations for years. People just paid to avoid trouble. Now everything was changing. A week later, I got an email from one of the HOA board members. It said Karen had been removed as president after a vote. They found out she'd been misusing funds and threatening homeowners with false claims, just like she did to me. The new board apologized to me in writing. They even asked if I'd consider opening part of the lake for community use again. I thought about it, then I said maybe, but under my rules, not Karen's. I created a simple sign-up sheet. Families could fish, walk, or picnic by the lake if they respected the space. I wasn't trying to be cruel. I just wanted fairness, something Karen had never offered anyone. And guess what? The lake stayed peaceful. No more shouting, no more fines, no more clipboards. Karen moved out 2 months later. Rumor was she couldn't handle the embarrassment. That lake, once her little kingdom, had become a symbol of her downfall. And for me, it was a daily reminder. Never let someone take your peace without a fight. Looking back, all I wanted was a quiet moment by the lake. I never planned for a fight. But when someone like Karen uses fake rules to control others, sometimes the best response is action, not anger. That $500 fine was the spark. Owning the lake was my answer. It wasn't about revenge. It was about standing up for myself and showing the neighborhood they didn't have to live in fear of a clipboard and a fake smile. Today I sit by that same lake, peaceful and calm, the way it should be. Neighbors wave instead of hiding. Kids laugh instead of worrying about rules. And Karen, she's just a name people whisper about when they tell the story of the guy who bought the lake and took back the neighborhood. I didn't just buy water. I bought back freedom, and I'd do it all over again without a second.